This was an interesting opportunity for me, big idea. First time at Reach, after following so many of you, having heard your big ideas and learned so much from them. We were getting ready to get the whole list of big ideas together, and they said, "Steve, what do you got?" And I said, "Thoughts from a Sleepless Night." They said, "Well, what's it about?" And I said, "It's about a dream and Carrie Patterson." Yeah, automatically was banned in like 17 states. There's nothing that makes our team more nervous than that. And I said, is this really the case? And I said, yeah, this idea came from a dream. And you know how this can be. I'll tell you a little bit about the situation. I was in Pittsburgh, walking down the streets in hospital scrubs. And I had a plate of barbecue in one hand and a walkie-talkie in the other hand. And I'm walking around, I'm starting to get fairly tired, and so I sit down on this park bench next to a mime and two jugglers, right? And this is where my dream starts. Actually, it was in a bed in Pittsburgh before a session. I'd been kind of tossing and turning all night, and I woke up with some very clear ideas about engagement. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So the way that Carrie Patterson figures into this is that Carrie and I had been having a number of different conversations about engagement. And there was a comic strip that I'd come across that kind of summarized a lot of the discussions that he and I had had. So before we get to the actual dream, here's the comic strip. It's a Dilbert, if you like Dilbert. It says, the first question on our employee survey is, do you feel you are valued and treated with respect and dignity? Dilbert says, well, let me put it this way. You know how sometimes you step in something gross and then you have to wipe it off or off your shoe with a paper towel? He says, so you feel like the paper towel. No, the paper towel has a purpose. So you feel like the gross stuff on the shoe. He says, no. The gross stuff gets to leave. He says, I feel like the shoe that has the gross stuff on the bottom and the sweaty foot shoved all the way into the end of its sole. Right? Right? And the evil HR director says, I think I'll leave this one blank. There's kind of an interesting journey that people take in organizations. And I get to interact with people from around the world in a variety of different types of organizations. And it's been interesting to me to hear how they get to this point, that there's more and more people who feel like Dilbert. Right? I'm the shoe. I just don't feel engaged. So I was really pondering that. And in this dream, now we get back to the dream. You know how dreams are not always connected. Hopefully this will all connect in the end. But now this is back to the actual dream. So I'm in my dream, and all of a sudden, my pop shows up. This is my dad. And my dad is full of wisdom, probably like many of your dads. Right? So he shows up in my dream, and he starts spouting off all of this advice. And some of it was practical, you know, things that I'd heard from when I was a boy, like, if you're cold, put a hat on. I heard that all the time. Some of it was kind of metaphysical, right? One of the things he said was, sew buttons on ice cream with darning needles. I'm not sure, we can analyze that one later. But the last one that really stuck in my mind, and I think probably because it was something that he said over and over and over when I was a boy, was this. He said, if you love what you do, you'll be successful. If you love what you do, you'll be successful. And as I started to get into the workforce and consider careers and options, this was always in the back of my head. I knew that if I selected some field, regardless of what it was, if I loved what I did, I'd be successful. So this was the thought that came into my mind. And the one that started the big idea rolling. I have about 3 big bullet points that I want to share with you. that came into my mind during this dream. It was one of those fascinating experiences where you wake up and fortunately there's a little Marriott pad of paper to the right of you, right? And you get the pen and you start writing. Right? And the difficulty with a dream like this is that in the moment, you're really excited. But when you look at it later, you can't quite figure out, is this absolute brilliance, right? Or something a little less? So here we go. We're going to pause for just a moment. I want to check in with you around your levels of satisfaction. So I have a little engagement survey here for you. Up on the screen, grab your remotes. You'll see dissatisfied on the left, satisfied on the right. 1, if you feel dissatisfied. And we're talking about currently in your job, with your role, what you're doing now. 5, satisfied. If you feel somewhere in between, choose the 2, 3, or the 4. Make your choices, and whoa, 4, right? They're kind of skewed. We'd expect that, right, with this kind of group. Surprising? Hey, this might be a little bit different group than a lot of the groups that we normally interact with. And we have a lot of satisfaction that comes from our jobs, from our opportunities, from our experiences with people. And this is a typical engagement scale that I've seen people use over the course of many years in working with organizations. Okay? So reflect on this a moment. We'll come back to it. But before we move off of it, what do you notice about this scale, this engagement scale? Doesn't say a lot. It doesn't say very satisfying, right? This is an engagement scale, and it is based in satisfaction, not engagement. This is one of the first things that started to come to me is so many times we are asking ourselves the wrong questions. We're presented with the wrong question when we're trying to think about engagement, our level of engagement, how we're doing, whether or not we're engrossed in our work. So we think, how could people get to the Dilbert kind of phase when probably most of them started off with a father like mine and advice like mine, high hopes, getting into the workplace. And very quickly in my dream, I had a succession of flashes of experiences. I don't know if everybody knows this, but when I first started working at Vital Smarts, I was working in the metrics area. We had a survey center, and we did a lot of customer satisfaction surveys, 360-degree profiles, employee engagements, types of surveys. And I remember one of the very early experiences that I had with someone who was trying to put together an engagement survey. And it was interesting because they were terrified. They said, we want to do a satisfaction survey, an engagement survey. And I said, okay, how about we ask people how engaged they are? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Take a step back. And so I don't know if we're ready for that. I said, let's start with something that we can handle. Can you guess what that would be? Pay and benefits. Right, let's stop there. Let's see if we can get to engagement through pay and benefits. Now, we know that these have an impact on your experience in the organization, but it's not the essence of engagement. They're using these as surrogate measures for engagement. Remember, over the years, I got to work with some more enlightened organizations. And in the enlightened organizations, they felt more comfortable adding supervision and job. Are you satisfied with your supervision, with your job? So you join an organization, you're full of optimism, you're hoping and expecting that this experience will be one of those experiences that people talk about. I said, I come home and I think about it and I'm working on it when I'm not even at work, that it's so wonderful to be part of a team. It's so great to be on something that's energizing and fulfilling. And yet, not far long after they get into the organization, we start seeing some of those expectations being dropped. And we see that many people are satisficing. Interesting word, to satisfice. I don't know if everyone's familiar with it. Satisficing. It was a word that was coined in the 1950s. And I got some coaching on this yesterday. I'm looking for Wendy Arnett. Where's Wendy? There, she's right in the front row, so she can help me if I don't get it right. So satisfice or satisficing is actually a portmanteau. 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 And portmanteau is a mashup of two words, porter and manteau. So somebody to carry something for you in an overcoat. And they came out with luggage that was portmanteau luggage to carry your overcoat. So a word like smog is actually a portmanteau. It's smoke, fog, smog. And we've gotten very good at these. Some of you might be familiar with some more modern versions of this, especially if you've been in the United States. Bradjolina, right? It's a portmanteau. They're putting it together. So, satisficing. This is what's happened to us. This is what's going on. Here's the definition. Satisfice is the tendency to select the first option that meets a given need, or select the option that seems to address most needs rather than the optimal solution. So many times in organizations, we start to satisfice. It's good enough. And everything around us encourages us to do that. From the questions we ask ourselves to the questions that other people are asking us. You should be okay. First big bullet, we ask ourselves the wrong question. We shouldn't be asking ourselves, am I satisfied or am I very satisfied? This is the image that came into my mind with our engagement scale. Is that satisfied is only the midpoint on that engagement scale, from unengaged to totally engaged. And yet we've become okay. To satisfy is the two words are suffice and satisfy, pushed together. Right? We become okay just at that midpoint range. If we truly want to become more engaged individually, as Chester talked about it, are we personally all in? The first thing we need to do is make sure we're asking ourselves the right question. So many times we have this false sense because the scale is skewed. So I want to compare and contrast what many of us feel when we're just feeling satisfied. It's just okay at work and our job with our responsibilities, with what it truly feels like to be engaged. So for this next little experience, I'm going to ask some helpers to come out. We're going to bring the lights up a little bit so we can see them. I need to divide the group here into 4 quarters, right? So we're going to say that there's an imaginary line straight down the middle, okay? Imaginary line straight down the middle, and also down the middle horizontally. So we have a quarter over here, one in the back, one in the back right? So if you believe, this is the big test, if you believe that you're in the front corner, front right-hand corner over here, raise your hand. Excellent. You are indeed. Very good. You are indeed in that quarter. Yes. Hey, how about this side? The front corner. Excellent. How about the back quarter? Excellent. Back other. Okay. There we go. Back right. Okay. So I think that folks are strategically positioned. We are going to pass out some items here. So come on in, pass them out. You're going to see a number of beach balls coming your way of assorted shapes and sizes. Assorted, that's okay, that's okay. It's all about engagement. Here, right there. So we have 4. We should have 4 in this front quarter. You got it? 4 in the back quarter. Hold them up if I can see. If you can show me you got them. There's 1. Okay. Hold them up back here in the back. Okay. High in the front. Excellent. Excellent. Here's the experience. With your assigned section, what I'd like you to do when I say go is to try to keep all the other beach balls out of your assigned area. So you want to get your beach ball into someone else's quarter and prevent their beach balls from coming into your quarter. Okay, first round is going to be 30 seconds. We're going to cue the music here. 30 seconds. When you're ready, go. Stop! Freeze the balls! Where did they end up? Anyone with that? Okay, stop. You gotta stop hitting them. Okay, you had no beach balls in this section? Oh! Excellent. Oh, one beach ball. Okay, round two. Round two. Because there's not just one round. With your assigned section, round two, about 20 seconds. We'll stop the music at 20 seconds. You'll know that's the sign to stop. On your mark, get set, go. No balls in your section. There it is. All right, stop. Stop, stop, stop. Where'd they go? Hold up the balls so I can see them. There they are. All right there in the middle. Whoo, got one right over there, the giraffe hanging out. Okay. So in a moment, I'm going to give you one last chance. This last chance is the speed round. There's only about 10 seconds in this speed round, so you got to make sure it counts. Okay, 10 seconds in the speed round. Get your strategy. Get your strategy. When you're ready, 10 seconds, go. Oh, there it is. Grab the balls, no more hitting. Where did they end up? Is there any quarter that didn't have any left? Whoa! Excellent, excellent. For those of you who had beach balls in your area at the end, don't worry, there's a consolation prize. You get to take those beach balls home. There you go. Grab your seat. So Chase told me, since he did the connections and the mutual purpose earlier, that it would be okay if we did this with a little division because you'd still love each other in the end. Yeah? So compare and contrast this experiences with some of the other experiences where you feel just satisfied. Okay, so think about this little game that lasted a total of how long? About a minute. About a minute. How did you feel? Yeah. Hopefully some of these words start to come in your mind. Inspired, absorbed, right? You're engrossed in how you're going to do this and what's going to happen next. Thrilled, right? When it goes over on the other side. Fulfilled if you're the last quarter, right? In other words, engaged. Now we often think of, and this is big bullet number 2, and it's kind of a multi-part bullet. We often think of engagement as something external, something that somebody else does for me. So first we ought to be asking ourselves the right question. Am I engaged? And we ought to be thinking about that, not just, is it okay if I'm not? Is someone else doing that for me? But how do I create the conditions in which I am engaged? Because I'm entitled to that. To be engaged, to be thrilled, to be inspired. Carrie and I were talking about satisfaction surveys versus engagement surveys. He said, wouldn't it be interesting if instead of I'm satisfied with my pay, I'm satisfied with my supervisor, I'm satisfied with my responsibilities, you had questions like, when I go home, I think about my work. I am so engaged, I can't think of doing anything else. And where many executives are petrified because they don't know how you're answering, you shouldn't be petrified of that. That should be the answer, or the question that you should be answering. That ought to be the question in our minds. And you can take lots of different types of activities and make them engaging. Stacy gave us a very moving, big idea this morning. And one of the thoughts that really impacted me was how you can be kind to someone that you don't feel too kindly towards. That it's a choice. And that you can create the conditions in which engagement not only starts, but extends. Something that we can do day in, day out. This was one of those things, waking up, having this in my head, saying, how fast can I write down all of these information, right? All of these big points that I wanted to make. And it was amazing how clear they were in my head, because I think that they were associated with a feeling. And we often have words on a page, words that we throw around, engaged. But when you start putting in some of those other feeling words that we see up here on the screen around it, thrilled, engrossed, right, energized, that feeling stays a lot longer. We can couple those things together. So it's not just a survey tick response, how satisfied am I, but a way of engaging personally, becoming all in. The other kind of subpoint to this was I realized that there are some aspects, some areas, some experiences in my life where I'm more engaged than others. You're not either not engaged in anything or all engaged in everything. And so thinking about different places where you feel engaged, take a moment. Where do you feel most engaged? What activities, experiences, places, times are you in when these types of words are coming into your head? What is it about those experiences that you've created that you can replicate in other areas? This should be a transferable experience. And as Chester was mentioning earlier, it's not just in the workplace that this matters, but at home. With my partner, with my family, friends, with my children. I should be engaged. How can I create that engagement? So those were the first two big bullets that came to my mind. And I want to leave you with this last one that really came home to me over this last couple of weeks. This last couple of weeks I was on vacation and found that sometimes in order to engage in one area of your life, you need to fully engage in other areas of your life. And so it was a real restorative experience for me. And so the last big bullet that I'd like to leave you with here this afternoon is this one. Get more sleep. Dream big dreams. It's been wonderful to be here with you, and I look forward to being with you today and tomorrow. Thank you.